just heard the JFK files have been released, so I imagine there are 1,000 YouTube videos talking about those files right now. So remember, this is a live broadcast, so anything could go wrong, might go great. We don't know. The phone lines are always open. It's unscreened. Everything's happening right now. So welcome, everybody. I appreciate you guys hanging out with us each and every night here, every week. It means the world to us. It really does. Now, remember that a spiritual whim led Chris to this hidden place and a trove of forbidden books. And what secrets actually await in these books, I have no idea, because this is the first time he's actually shared pictures with me. And we're going to show you some of these pictures, some of these photos. But it's called the Black Library. At least that's what they call it. Now, today we have to really mark this day down. If whatever's in the JFK files, whatever, they've been released. And I can tell you that I got so interested in this case a long time ago that, I got a kidney stone from it, actually. I stayed up and watched the mock trials all night. I was drinking those little espresso coffee. That's probably what gave me the kidney stone, but those little Starbucks espresso coffee things, trying to crack this JFK case. And needless to say, there's a lot of holes in there, so I can't wait to dig into those files. But tonight, we're going to dig into this. We're stepping into the unknown, and that's what we do best. So Chris shared his spontaneous mountain trip, which was sparked by a spiritual message that he got that led him into the mountains, into this property where he found these books. Now, this is the first time I've seen any pictures per se from these books, and some of the pictures in the books reveal some really weird stuff. We're going to try to pick it apart together. I've not prepped this, or I'm not trying to teach you anything. We're all going to investigate this together with Chris, and I want to make sure before I have any technical issues here. Chris, are you still here with us? Christopher?
I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm excited to get into this. It's great to have a platform to be able to explore this.
Yeah. Well, I'm stoked about it too, because as soon as you sent me the pictures, I was like, well, we got to share this stuff. So I put it on slide so that you guys can see it. Now, some of it's going to be kind of hard to see, but Chris is there actually looking at the pictures with us, so we'll have a way to kind of go through this stuff. But just to recap the story, tell me that you contacted the person at this property, right? And they said that they revealed to you. Now, is this recent, or did they just reveal to you, oh yeah, by the way, there was like a spiritual group that went up into that place?
So we've been talking back and forth, Joe, and in February on the 19th, on a Wednesday, you had me on to retell the story, and it was the first time I had told the story in a couple years. Right. And it's always in the back of my mind. But when we were done having conversation the week after, because we talked again the next week on Wednesday, here we are again on a Wednesday. But so the Thursday after our second conversation, I just had this itch to call Amy, who was the caretaker before I took over the property. She's the lady who answered the phone when I called. She's the lady who was crying on my shoulder because her husband got sick in the attic and met his demise within 30 days of getting sick in the attic. She had to leave. I took over the property. And after I had, quite frankly, after I had been taken over by these entities at the place and was seeing ghosts and hearing ghosts and smelling ghosts, and all this was happening to me, I called the lady Amy, and the only thing she ever told me was there's a murder-suicide in the chapel in the 60s. You can look it up. That's all I can tell you. And she told me that the books had always been there because I asked who they belonged to. So I called her. I called her a couple weeks ago. She has the same number. She said, gosh, Chris, she said, hello, who's this? I'm like, it's Chris. Chris who? Chris Martinez. Do you remember me? She's like, no, not really. I said, I met you about a decade ago, about in 2016. She goes, oh, Chris, oh my gosh, it's so great to hear from you. What do I owe this pleasure of you calling me? And I told her she had always been in the back of my mind. I'd been speaking about her, talking about her, never forgot her, and wanted to check in on her. So I asked her some questions that I had always been wanting to ask, like, what more can you tell me? So she did reveal to me that she was under the assumption that that couple was searching for rattlesnake venom. She also told me that there was a group of spiritualists that would gather there that was all men. And so that seems to be the case, because what I have found is not only books, but all kinds of documents and these writings inside the book donated to the Black Library. Literally, it says the Black Library. So I think there was a group of people meeting there, like you suggested, and perhaps this library was created. And the Black Library note that I found was like a year before that couple took their own lives. So I'm not sure how long they were meeting after that, or if they were meeting before or after. This is a good investigative situation for us here.
Yeah, we're going to figure this out together. Okay. Or try to. What I'm trying to figure out, what's I guess is, I don't know, bothering me the most about this whole thing is the suicide. What, I mean, when we look at the occult books that you found, and keep in mind, you found these in a dusty attic, right? Like this, they were covered in crap. Was it under like a floor panel that you had to pick up, or was it a door, or no. What was it?
No, let me walk you back through it. So I had enlisted the help of one of my student athletes to help me clean out a back room inside of a chapel at the base of this hill on this property that I was taking care of. So I had to clean out this chapel anyways regularly, so that it could have weddings and memorial services, and I would rent it out and collect money to keep the lights on. So there was this back room that I never opened the door, because you couldn't push the door open without putting some force into it. And the reason you had to put force into it was because there was about 6 inches of rat feces on the entire floor in this room, and that rat feces was on top of every single thing in that back room. So it was going to be like a tall task to get that situation cleaned up. So we strapped on our boots, we strapped on masks, gloves, we took everything out, sprayed and swept, sprayed everything down, literally took garden hoses in the back there. We cleaned it out. And while I was cleaning shelves off on the side of the chapel with a garden hose, my student athlete was opening boxes, and in those boxes, these moving boxes, were all these esoteric, ancient, I say ancient because they're from the late 1800s up to the 1930s. There's a couple in there from the 1950s.
Right.
But that's about it. What's great is that it's just so much to unpack here. But
well, I'm going through the photos here, so I kind of want to go through each and every one of these. Now, so the I guess the murder suicide part, that's what baffles me about this, because when I look at the photos, I mean I see people that seem to, it's almost like they're teaching each other occult hidden things. So why the wedding and the suicide and all this other stuff? How does it go from being a place of, I guess, a men's spiritual group to that? I mean, I wonder if that was completely separate, is what I'm wondering, you know. You didn't get any more information about that, though, did you?
No, my curiosity, of course, lies because these two people, they lost their lives in that chapel. They took their own lives at the foot of the pulpit in a grotesque ritual. There's a stack of Mad magazines. The lady, her name Tanya Sue Martin, she drank poison, and the gentleman Melvin Martin, he shot himself with a .32 pistol.
Just doesn't make any sense. Something's not adding up.
And they were naked. They were wearing all black.
Well, you know what made me think about this today is, like I told you, every 6 months or so, I go back through the Monroe books. Okay. And in the Monroe books, there was parts in there where he was talking to people like Thomas Campbell, and they were mapping out consciousness. They were mapping out the different levels of consciousness, but they were all telling different stories. Okay. What I mean is they were symbolizing it in all kinds of different ways. So one person would do it biblically, another person would do it geometrically, another person would do it with colors. And what I'm trying to figure out is, I guess I'm trying to find parallels here. So maybe we could start going through some of these pictures. Now remember, are all these pictures out of the books that you got, right? Do you fully understand any of this stuff?
I spent some time looking at a handful of these pictures that I sent you, definitely, and I do understand. This is some stuff that you'll pick up on too. It refers to these different planes that our soul and our consciousness can be in. For example, the astral realm is represented in a lot of these diagrams as being the lowest level outside of the body is the astral plane.
I'm going to try to see.
It all makes good sense.
Let's try to pick, like, there's one picture here that's got like a map. Now, this is the one that boggles me the most. The one that has these steps, and it says soul, spiritual, whatever, like a pair of stairs, right? And then it has psychic, desire, and astral, and then it maps out all of this crazy stuff. Right? It just goes in all different directions. Like,
this is my favorite.
That's your favorite one? Do you understand this? Because it's a lot to me.
No, okay. I'm watching you flip through on the screen separately.
Yeah, you're going to be a little behind
right
based
now,
on what I'm saying, though. So,
right. The one I'm looking at right now that I see you have up on the screen is very detailed. That's one of the more detailed ones. I don't understand all of it. The Lake of Fire and the Initiation Sphere, the Temple of Wisdom, Queen of Angels Temple. These are all places apparently our conscious can go. The Temple of Choice, the Temple of Shambhala, the Court of Allah, the Garden of Love, the Lake of Purity.
Now, obviously, we can't take this as ultimate truth, right? But what we can say is that people that were up in this place studying all these different books that you have were, I guess, either it seems like they were teaching each other these things or they were exploring consciousness there. So maybe if we go to the one that has the 3 S's, I can, because some of this I can't read because it's small, to be honest with you. Can you flip it to that one? Don't try to keep up based on what you're watching. Do it based on what you're hearing, because you're going to see a delay if you're watching the video.
The 3 S's, you said?
Yeah.
I'm looking.
So it has S. It has some kind of, well, and I'm going to have to zoom in on this too, man. I thought it'd be fun for all of us to look at this stuff because everybody wants to get at these books, right? But
I'm there.
So it says message of the 7 central spheres, the Master's Retreat, and it has the number 7 on the top. And then there's an S, S, and S.
Right. This did seem like a map because it goes from 1 to the number.
Are we on the
11,
same?
which, yes, the number 11 is spiritualized individuality. So that seems to be where you want to end up at, according to this map. It says material for soul development.
It's crazy looking, man. I don't know. So see right there where it says sacrificial? What does that mean? So you got selflessness, sacrificial, and service. That should be the 3 S's, right?
That's correct. That's how, according to the book Cosmic Consciousness that we were talking about the other day, that's that selfless, this sense of selflessness that has to be there when attaining these higher levels of consciousness. So selfless, sacrificial, service.
Now, these all seem like beautiful teachings to me, but and what? I'm not trying to be macabre. I don't understand the marriage suicide thing. Maybe they thought it was some kind of sacrifice thing or something, you know? Because this doesn't look anything like this. Doesn't look dark. This looks like.
Are you trying to avoid something by saying the word marriage?
No, I'm not trying to. Oh. No. You know me, man. I'm not trying to avoid anything at all. Like,
okay, Mark, the murder suicide is what happened.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could call it. They both off themselves. I mean, maybe that's what happened. But
it's kind of like a Romeo and Juliet thing, though. You know, I mean, just think about it.
Very much is. She drank a poison and he shot himself. They had a last meal together down the road. They were camping. I know that also they were camping in the desert. Their campsite was about 100 yards from the chapel up in the desert. And supposedly they were looking for rattlesnake venom and collecting it. I'm not sure if that's the poison that she drank. That seems like that would be what it was. If that's the case.
Well, maybe we should just go. What I'll do is I'll put the slides up and then I'll just go through each one. And then we can talk about whatever, you know, like what each one means so far. So we've looked at this one. This is like the 3 S's, and I guess this leads you to what is that? The Master's Retreat. So through these 3 different things, I guess you come to some level of consciousness. And here's another one. Now this is where these guys. This stuff kind of worries me. Because we don't know like how many of these people were doctors or whatever, but it seems to me like they're mapping out the brain here, right? What is this? Right. And I have the spinal cord picture up now.
I know which one you're referring to.
Look at that. Pituitary. They have the pituitary labeled as 7. It looks like that, doesn't it? The pineal gland.
Yes, and it's highlighted. This is great, Joe. Oh my gosh, I'm getting excited here, brother, because I re-listened to our talk, and you had mentioned because this weird thing happens to me when I go in houses where my solar plexus starts to vibrate and get warm and fuzzy, and then this energy like radiates through my extremities, but it centers right there on my spleen, right. I said solar plexus, but spleen right here at like my chest plate. And when I'm looking at this picture, that's right there where it says 4th, and there's a little bump.
Gotcha.
I don't know if you can see that. And you mentioned to me that someone said
right here, the 4 says 4th, a little bump.
Right. You said something. You said someone said that the spleen is some kind of a gland, and it's
according to Manly P. Hall, the whole entire endocrine system, all the glands of the endocrine system is the thing that connects us to the spirit world, supposedly. I mean, that's what he said. But where you felt what you're talking about, you felt it.
Remember, see where it says 4th?
I'm trying to put an arrow there.
That's
right there.
Yeah, that's where. When I'm in a house and I can sense that there's a disembodied entity or a presence that you can't see, but I can feel it, that's where I feel it. The 4th.
And if we're having any technical glitches tonight, I apologize. There's stuff going on here that we have.
That's what these are.
You feel it here.
That's correct. These are chakras according to this key on the bottom left.
Yeah,
the first is the sacral plexus. The second, I can't tell you what that is.
It says lumbar or something, doesn't it?
Well, that's describing that part of the spine.
On the right, yeah. On the left, it describes the, I got you, okay. So on the left, it describes the body parts. On the right, it's telling you where the chakras are, right?
Right.
This is trippy stuff, man. And you found all of this stuff? This stuff was covered in dust and rat crap in that place?
Luckily, it was boxed up. There wasn't feces on any of the material, so I wasn't playing in rat crap. I know that sounds disgusting, but yes, everything in that back room hadn't been touched in years, probably decades. Because of that, you couldn't move the door. In the desert, there's pack rats everywhere. They're notorious for nesting and crapping everywhere. So it's not a surprise that left untouched with the gaps in the wood of the frames that rats would get in there. That room would have needed to be maintained regularly like the rest of the chapel, which I would have to sweep up because there'd be little droppings everywhere. You just have to go in there and sweep it up all the time. So I can imagine it built up quick, but it must have taken a long time to build up that quick. I'm not exaggerating, there was 5 to 6 inches of rat feces on everything. And so the boxes, everything went into the dumpsters. I left the books outside to air for some time before I ever brought them inside. I re-boxed them in milk crates, and I've moved them a few times and dusted them off as well as I could. I didn't leave them in the house for a long time. I left them in the shed outside just so they would air out. I don't have any problems dealing with them.
Now, listen, guys, I want you to understand something. I don't know what your take is on any of this stuff, but as a void walker, okay, and I'm going to be straight with you here. So as a void walker, I don't prescribe to anybody's truth, even if they have it all mapped out. This is only an investigation for me. So even if it's all mapped out, to me, like, it isn't true until I experience it. I'm sorry, but that's just how this goes. That's how kind of void walking goes. It doesn't mean that none of it's true. It doesn't mean that it's all true. It means that we can investigate it, look at it, explore it for ourselves, and see if it's true. Now, there's not a lot of that going around. Right now, with the internet, people just blab stuff, their truth, your truth, my truth. Everybody's got different truths, right? And we can't, as truth seekers, we can't find the truth just based on information alone. We can't do that anymore because it's an overflow of info. So I can't shove my beliefs onto you, and no one can shove their beliefs onto me. We shouldn't do that to each other. We should investigate, in my opinion, we should investigate this stuff. And if you're willing, explore it consciously, which I'm willing because I'm not afraid. But if you are, I understand. I'm not judging you on that either. Some of the stuff could be a little scary, but let's go back to the slides here. So this, you know what interests me the most, actually? If I can find this part on the body again. You see where it says epigastric in the middle?
Right.
And you said that you felt your medium stuff, right? Right there above that, in this area, right? That's
Right
where you would feel
little
things.
Bump is that says fourth, and I'm assuming that according to this little chart, it's a chakra.
Okay, so in alchemy, when they talk about fire, a lot of times they're not just talking about just like regular fire. Fire can mean the gastric fires of your body. In fact, I think they teach this in the Eastern systems too, right? Like the gastric fires, it's an actual fire that's a consuming fire. That we consume energy for us to create energy, right? We have to consume energy to move as energy. And so a lot of times when you read stuff in alchemy and it talks about fire, it's either talking about that force, which is epigastric, or it's talking about sexual fire or desire fire, any fires that move your body forward or that move you to interact or connect with the world. It's more of a complicated thing, but it's got my attention because you're feeling this stuff around that same area, Maybe a little higher than that, but that's fun. That's pretty cool to me. So the fire parts of you in alchemy are kind of lighting up. And I guess you could say in the Eastern system, it would be that chakra, though. If you're into chakras. I'm not going to sit here and like look at everybody and go, oh, yeah, man, and clap like a seal and say, I know chakras are real, because I don't. I
would never have described it. I would never say my chakra was lighting up because it's just not my culture to do so. I have just always described it, felt like my spleen, my chest plate.
Right.
And so looking at this picture, it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
And what you said about Manly Hall, theory about them being connected to the astral realm. It's awesome.
Yeah, so he like this has reminded me of a lot of the stuff in his books, which I think it's cool that whoever, I wonder, so right now we're looking at a picture of somebody that's more than likely the person that drew this, studied this at that temple, at that place that you visited. They're probably not alive, with a group. And these people were exploring consciousness together. To me, that's cool to just be a part of it, right? Like to even look at it. That's us in Arizona, by the way. But someone labeled this. What is the exact date? I can't read that. 2/15, is that 68? What is that? 88? Where it says the Black Library?
That's 1968 in that particular book.
Okay.
And that's interesting because 1969 was when, on September 1st, 1969 was when that tragic event took place.
It was about somewhere before the suicides. What does it say above that? I can't read other people's cursive for some reason.
I think it's an inscription to about who the book belonged to and who it's being dedicated to. So I believe it says.
What is that name?
What is his name? It's hard to read. I can't read the cursive either, but below it clearly says to the
Black Library. So they probably named all these books the Black Library, I would think. Just based on this.
I literally just came to this conclusion as I opened up this book so that we could explore it together this evening. I found that inscription and was excited to share.
I wish I could read that last. Can anybody in the chat make out that last name? That looks like Lyle, doesn't it?
The first name looks like Lyle, most definitely.
To something Lyle. Is that living? No. Larry? I can't. I hate cursive. I don't know why, man. Especially when you're trying to investigate stuff. Like you can't read someone else's cursive. But it's a dedication to the Black Library. All right.
I feel like I see a Living House. Lyle something Living House. Looks like it says Larry Living House.
We'll have to investigate that more. Because, man, I'm the kind of person, dude, once I get involved with something like this, I'll get crazy about it. I want to find the names, who was there, what were they doing, You found some weird stuff and had some crazy experiences at this place, man. It's very, to me, I'd like to investigate it with you, honestly, Living House, that looks like a L-A, though, doesn't it? It doesn't look like an I. But the last part does look like Living House.
Right. There's 1, 2, 3, probably 4 letters before Living House. You're right. It looks like
the Lyle Larry Living House.
That's sort of what it looks like.
No idea. All right, let's go through this Black Library. So here, this one's called the Order of the Plains, and you can see that there's a stamp in this too, like on the top left. I don't know if that's a library card. What does that stamp say? We can look at that later, but it looks like something's been said on it or stamped on it in the top left. Can you go to the one that says Order of the Plains?
On the top, it says Order of Plains.
Okay. All right. So this thing, according to this thing, we are on the physical plane down here. Now, this is different, actually. The earth plane, the astral plane, the desire plane, and the psychic plane. Look at all these planes.
And that's still just the first level.
Yeah, according to this diagram, we're not saying it's true, but according to these people that, I guess, contributed to the Black Library, we've got the Earth. This is where we are, the Earth plane. That's it, right? down here at the bottom.
Right.
Then you have the astral plane. Now, when it goes up to the desire plane, I've got arrows going everywhere. Today, while I was riding around back and forth from work and the doctor and stuff, I was re-listening to the Monroe tapes, the second one where it's Far Journeys, and he talked about this place that he went to, and we're going to go through all this stuff because I'm become overly obsessive about all of these different places these people are exploring consciousness, and you and I and the Void Walkers, we're going to find parallels in this stuff. Okay, the desire plane is somewhere between the astral plane and some other place, because Monroe kept talking about this place too. He described it with color. He also described this area where he went through an archway and there was this like over crazy like sexual force that was way too inviting, that was overwhelming. He said he had to step back from it, right? Which could be the desire plane if these people are correct. But that's just
Joe,
three levels, man.
Joe, it is correct.
You can. I'm not going to take this as correct. You can, but I'm not going to. Not until I experience it, brother. I can't do that to people. I'm not going to do that to myself. I know how my mind is. Once I start creating what's real, then I'll program myself to something that may not be true. I've got to experience it, bro.
Okay, but we're being like investigative detectives right now, and so we found a diagram that describes what your boy Robert Monroe
partly
experienced.
Yeah. Partly.
Because I felt that when you said what those sexual desire, okay, it's just exactly what is written here. It feels real. It might not be real. Let's be neutral.
Well, you could be however. I'm just telling you, like, if I explore something and I experience it, I will share it. What's this name over here where it says white something? Can you read that? White
it says
Brotherhood.
White Brotherhood.
You guys see that? Hope everybody sees that. Over there on the right in cursive. White Brotherhood.
Below that it says in cursive guide.
What is that?
Below that it says guide.
Okay. And then so above all of that is, then you go into the etheric currents. Let me turn this off so I can move the picture. Mental plane, spiritual plane, soul plane, etheric currents, celestial realm, the kingdom of heaven, and then the angels and saints and God. You think this is 100% correct?
I just felt what you were talking about specifically when you mentioned Robert Monroe going from one place to another through an arch and this sexual.
Yeah.
As I'm looking at the diagram, that feels like he was describing the second and third step on this particular guide. That's all. I haven't looked any further in it at all. But right there, that felt real. You have experienced the astral plane. I have as well. So that feels real. The psychic plane, I'm not sure what to make of that. I'm not a psychic.
Me neither, man. We're just exploring it together. And who cares? I don't care. Like, I don't care who thinks what, if I'm right, if I sound good, I don't care about all that. I just want to know the truth. Right. That's it. Here's another interesting, this is pretty interesting. So they've got this out. This is in spheres, you know. So we've got
a chart in the middle.
Right. We've got, this kind of looks astrological. So we've got 12 sectors here. I don't think a guy did all this, by the way. It could be, but I just don't. Uh-oh. See, these are religious names though, bro. Let me see if I can zoom in. Sorry, guys. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. All right.
Allah. I see the word Allah.
Yeah. So you've got angels, Allah, Shambhala. I don't know what that says over there. Purity, fire, kingdom of holiness. This is what happens. I think people get these, so they have these spiritual experiences. Now, I'm not saying they're not traveling. But I've had these kind of experiences to where you get like a download and then you just start mapping it out. Like you feel like you understand something bigger. And the best thing really that you could do when you get that kind of stuff is draw it out. But I'm also afraid that like you could be programming yourself too. Like you're not really understanding the messages that you're getting. Now, hear me out when I say this. If you've really explored consciousness, like if you've really explored consciousness. Now, I'm not talking about, yeah, man, I've done DMT and mushrooms, and I'm not talking about that. That's one side of conscious exploration. I mean, like really, you meditate, you mess with the hypnagogia stuff, the psychological stuff, you try to have out-of-body experiences, you really explore consciousness, then you know that this can get a bit crazy. Because everybody has a filter too. So everything that comes into your consciousness has to go through your mind so that you can understand it. And the best way that we can understand things and speak to the higher realms is, what Joseph Campbell talked about, is through symbolism. And I also believe sacred geometry, but this is like, there's too many layers to this onion here, man. We can't even get we're still just in the astral realms, I find it hard to believe that, and I could be totally wrong, that someone knows this much about everything in consciousness, right? But I could be wrong.
I feel you. This is it's so mapped out. It almost seems as if, right, you and me are just playing on this first little level. How could anybody have been visiting all these places? And come back to tell about it.
And even when you read and listen to the experiences of the explorers from the Gateway tapes, the ones that we know are probably a bit, the ones that we can kind of count on, Thomas Campbell, Robert Monroe, the ones that we know we can count on. The stuff that they were trying to, I guess, wade through was confusing. Every year I listen to the Monroe tapes, the books, and I always discover something new. There's so much information in those 3 books, but none of them ever talk about angels, Jesus, Allah. They do decipher messages in that way. You know what I'm saying, bro? Like I care about finding out the truth, but this is really cool. Go back to the other one. I don't know why it's here. Let me pause this. Here's another one that's got circles and triangles, and it looks like it's showing energy centers. What do you make of this one, Christopher?
It all seems pretty well, like you had said. The only thing I can really make of it is it seems like these people were teaching each other this stuff, because so for example, this particular picture that we're looking at, I have somebody else's rendition of the same image. So they were probably looking at drawing this together. People were together sitting, I can imagine, with their workbooks, with these blank pieces of paper. They're learning about this stuff together. They probably had rulers and compasses, and were drawing these circles and triangles and doing these diagrams together, because one diagram is clearly somebody else's. I sent you the best rendition that I could. The other one could clearly be written by a guy. I can see why you think this one was drawn by maybe not a guy, because of perhaps the handwriting and all the color, but I think the color is significant as well. So I believe everybody was using the same colors for the schemes.
Any of these symbols stand out to you that kind of hit you intuitively?
Well, for me, just where I feel things. In this particular picture, there's a triangle And that's where I feel stuff, right? There's a heart and there's a little sun right there. That area that's in the chest plate, when I refer to my chest plate
right here,
being able to sense something that you can't see, that's where I sense it.
okay,
That's where it starts. But then that feeling will go all the way to my fingertips, to my eyelids. But it starts right there.
all right. And what is this down here? These two things. It says LH and SP. What is that? I wonder what that means. Right here. Wait, my arrows are backwards. There we go.
I'm not sure. They're orange in color. And they have lines coming from that sun looking figure in the chest plate.
So now, can you imagine someone that's getting like
glands?
Glands?
I'm thinking they're glands.
So do you imagine someone that's getting all these downloads today? They're getting all these downloads. They feel like they understand the reality of everything because they can draw this out, and then they try to explain this stuff to people. It's really hard. I can just tell by going through these things. It's hard to explain. So when people come to me and they're like, I had I'm like, they start speaking as if they're a guru, or they know everything about consciousness, or they know everything about energy and all of this stuff. I really get super skeptical, almost as much as I do about Bigfoot. Because again, the people that I know that have explored consciousness, the ones that have taught us, the friends that I know, I've dedicated a big chunk of my life to this. To know this type of truth would have to be like really handed down verbally, I think, in secret. Something that's not in a book. And this is what I'm getting from all these graphs. Because why draw the graphs? You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
And there's some trippy stuff, man. And I can't get the suicide thing out of the back of my mind. Like, what, when people have Kundalini experiences, they're said that a lot of times that they can go mad or crazy.
I did.
And I just got through talking to one of my friends today that I was kind of nervous to talk about. He'd been wanting to talk to me for a long time. And he got put into a crazy house, man. Now, he's fine now, but he swears up and down that he had some type of Kundalini experience. But at the time, they diagnosed him with schizophrenia. They diagnosed him with all kinds of different things. So I'm not saying that conscious exploration isn't
risky.
Yeah, man, it's definitely risky. Like, if you're going to do this stuff, it's risky. If you want to talk about it and just talk about the scary stuff and excite people and get clicks, great. But if you really want to like explore it, it gets risky, I think. It really does, because you're messing with your psyche. You know what I mean? Well, here's another one that doesn't make sense to me. You got stairs on the bottom, stairs on the top, a square, a triangle. To me, this is like a person that, got some kind of download. They think they understand all of existence, and now they're trying to draw it out, man. You know what I mean?
Made me think potentially, right, as we're talking about this, was there a leader of this spiritual group that all this information was coming from one person's download?
Right. I can't even begin to decrypt some of these. I'm going to try to go to another one here. Look at this. Look at this. How are we supposed to? I mean, it's almost like this person. Let me zoom. Sorry, guys. Let me zoom in. This is like a map. This almost looks like a treasure map. It's got roads to different places.
Joe, this is a picture diagram of the other one we were looking at with circles. I just figured this out as we were looking at this together. So the one with circles that looks astrological, it has certain things in those circles. So this is like a bigger diagram of everything in those circles.
This
and it
map
seems to be right. It's like a greater detailed picture of apparently all the different levels outside of the body.
You know what I think? I think
The order of planes. That's what it's going over the order of planes, apparently. Right.
you remember the Jonestown thing. I hate to even bring this up, but you remember that Jonestown massacre?
Yes, I know of it. I mean, it wasn't. What year did it happen? I might have been around when it happened, but no, I may know what you're talking about.
Well, you know the Jonestown massacre where they like, you know, killed each other. They drank the Kool-Aid.
I know. I'm just messing with you. I didn't remember it. I know of it.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, the James Jones guy, the guy was crazy. I think it
Jim
happened
Jones.
in like 1978, somewhere around the late 70s. Now, look, you have to really, really, before you judge people, you have to really kind of go into the mind of a person back then they didn't have the stuff that we had. They didn't have, you know, like the internet. They didn't have all of that stuff. There was a lot of people that followed leaders back then, churches and leaders and movements and things like that. So there was more connection back then with people, right? Like we're in the information age, you and I, right now. Okay. But like in the 60s and 70s, all of their movements were driven by heart and emotion and things like that. And when a guy comes along with that much charisma and he tells you how bad this place is and, you know, you're just better off if you're not here. He convinced a lot of these people that they're just better, like the world and the earth is a trap and you're just better off if you're not here. And he convinced these families, children and people to give their children. It's awful, dude. And this is where I'm going with this. We get obsessed with the idea of leaving our bodies or going somewhere spiritually. Not obsessed with it. Like I'm worried that may happen again. Right. I've talked to so many people, even today, brother, a friend of mine that is convinced that this place yet again is a trap.
Oh no.
And so now we're looking at these maps of people just trying to escape a trap. That's what I see. I'm serious, bro. I mean, exploring consciousness is cool, but consciousness also wants three things. Remember those three things? Love, life, and light, right? Those three things. Life is not a trap. It's a vessel to explore consciousness. It's just another vessel to explore consciousness. So when I see these things, like, and then you tell me about the suicide of those two people, my heart, my intuition, I feel like I have a gift to look through into certain things. And I feel like that couple might have been telling themselves, well, the only way we can truly be together is outside of this place.
Well, Joe, to confirm that, I would say that they succeeded. In my own personal experience, I know you didn't experience this, but Joe, I experienced these two people trapped in that chapel. And that's not my first experience with that. I've experienced one of the guys I went to the Marine Corps with, he took his own life. And one of the very last things that he did before he did that, he continued to do in the afterlife. So what I mean by that is, I'll just get specific. I'm not naming any names here,
sure.
So it should be fine. But he was twisting up the fork. You know how a fork has four little what do you call them? Fingers, that stab the food.
Whatever, yeah.
Spokes, yeah. So before he took his own life, he was bending the prongs of all the forks in the house because I imagine he was under so much stress trying to decide if he was going to do this or not, right? So in the years after his death, his widow would come home to find these forks twisted again on the counter. So I experienced the same thing in the chapel. My stomach knotted up. I had to go to the ER. Nothing was wrong with me. Tried to take a gun from a cop and stab myself. Wasn't suicidal, but it seems to me like after investigation, those two individuals were together in the afterlife, and they relived their last experiences through me. I wouldn't even be able to tell their story had that not happened to me. We wouldn't even be talking about it. I didn't even know any of that stuff happened until I started investigating. So if that was their plan, which sucks because like you said, I love living, and that would really suck if someone was learning something and they felt like, we should just be together in death. I mean, shoot, it's tragic. It's really sad. But it seems to me like they're stuck there, man. They were.
Look, it sounds romantic enough, but I'm serious, but if you've got any set of balls on you, nobody can tell you not to love somebody. You can love whoever the hell you want freely. The only thing that would trap you is if you actually care what other people think. Oh, my mom thinks this, or oh, we come from two different families, like the Romeo and Juliet. Like, grow up. You know what I mean? So I don't think that's like what I just said is the case. I think you're right. I think these people studied this stuff so much that they might have convinced themselves that they're just better off outside their bodies, dead, which to me is tragic.
Yeah, it is like a Romeo and Juliet story. It does really feel that way.
That's tragic. And when I read these, or not read, but when I look at these pictures that you got from, and what the hell are they calling it, the Black Library? That's a hell of a name to give a library of spiritual text, like it's the Black Library, man.
Well, need I remind you that there was a circle out there and some other weird stuff, so.
Oh, there was, yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
There was a circle that you found in the woods, right? Dutch is saying, can I call after the break? Yeah, we'll take a break here in a second. You can call the phones after the break if you want to. I think, I think exploring consciousness is cool, man. Like, I want to figure all this stuff out, but I like living too. I like going in the woods. I'm tilling a garden this weekend. You know what I mean? Like, I like living. And I think we're just polar beings all the time. It's either this or it's that. It's God or the devil. It's and we can't bring the two hemispheres of alpha and omega or left and right brain together hardly ever. But when we do, we have out of body experiences or we experience oneness, So why do people want to leave? Wouldn't it be crazy? Like if they left and they think that they're going to go to the kingdom of heaven or whatever, and they go there for a minute, and then they're just like born again, because consciousness doesn't. I guess that is kind of a paradox because it could seem like a trap. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're trying to escape and you're like, I want to get out of here, I'm ready to leave, and then every time you die, you reincarnate again and again and again because you're not flowing with the river. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
I do understand what you're saying. There's no way to know, but it seems to me like, according to my experience, taking your own life isn't the way out. You get stuck. You don't go nowhere. You just can't eat anymore. You can't embrace the ones that you love. But you can. It's tragic. No,
brother, when I'm talk to people in this community and they start that life is a trap thing, I kind of just, I don't want to sound mean, but I find a way out of that conversation and get away as fast as I can. for my own sake. And it definitely isolates me. But I don't think any of it's a trap. I think it's all, like, I think this is cool that they're exploring this stuff. But explore, like, live, man. Light, live, love. It sounds woo, but Jesus, don't kill yourself. I don't know why I can't. It's beautiful that they're exploring these things, but we're not thinking about the time that they came from, too. It's not 2025. Maybe they had to meet in secret to talk about this stuff. I mean, that town that you live in where you found this stuff, would you consider it like, do you know the history
of it? It was small in the 60s. Was very small in the 60s.
Right.
It's booming now, but this was at least in the 60s when this.
What I really want to find out through all these books and stuff, and we'll do a series of all kinds of different shows and keep digging into this, but what I really want to find out is what was the main thing that they were trying to learn here? And were they just exploring consciousness, or was there some kind of belief that they were trying to teach each other? And because to me, this looks like more of a belief thing than it it could be wrong. Maybe they did discover a bunch of stuff, but there's just too much religious and symbolism in here for me to say that they figured it all out, It seems filtered.
Like, it does seem a little too much to be like they were exploring to these levels. I don't know how you would get past. It just, like you said, it seems more like a belief system than something they were actually going to these places. I can't imagine. Unless they were using a substance.
Well, when people start offing themselves, I get worried. And I'm only saying that because I've had experiences with even friends in the past that they'll start going down this road and they'll literally drive themselves crazy. They'll have a moment of psychosis, and then they drive themselves even crazier because they realize, am I going crazy? And then it's some kind of crazy spiral that they have to totally ground themselves to get out of. And it seems like we as beings, almost as if when we try to explore consciousness, we're so polar that we can't handle these shifts. So when people have a Kundalini experience or some type of alchemical awakening, and this is what I've been trying to say since the beginning of the program, and at this point, I am instilling something that I believe into folks, okay? A long time ago, this whole Kundalini thing was taught. You were taught to prepare yourself for the thing. Mm-hmm. That's why there were levels to the mysteries and levels to this conscious exploration, which some people say, "Oh, that's bullshit," but you don't know how. Sometimes even we don't know how powerful our minds and our psyches are. We haven't even begun to explore consciousness about as much as we've explored the universe, and not even that much, the actual universe comparatively. So when we start playing with energies that we don't understand, and then they open things up in our psyche, it's natural we're going to go crazy. You're going to slip in and out of reality, or you're going to end up in a nut house, or you're going to end up somewhere you don't want to be. Or even worse, you physically damage yourself. So when you hear certain, quote, adepts say there are sides to alchemy that are actually dangerous, I believe them. But I also don't look at them like, well, they know it all either. Is that you smelling what I'm stepping in? Because these guys, even the adepts, if you really listen to them, and when I say adepts, I mean people that are teaching Rosicrucian teachings or mystery teachings. They don't all agree on some really specific things. They don't all agree on what the Philosopher's Stone is. They don't. Even in the books, they don't agree on it. They don't all agree on what actual initiation is and how you go about it. So if they're not all agreeing, then that ought to tell us we still have humans that don't know shit. They know a little more than we do, but they're not ultimate guides to anything. So that means we have to be careful. We have to tread lightly while we explore this place, which makes it fun to me because there's a little bit of danger in there. Right?
It's definitely dangerous, brother. It's definitely dangerous, like you said.
There's a little bit of danger in there.
Tread lightly. Tread lightly.
And maybe AR is right. Trying to understand the spiritual through the physical doesn't work. If you think about it, every time if you've had an out of body experience, you're filtering. You're still attached to your body. You haven't left the body, and you'll even feel it when you get out of body. You'll feel, especially if you're like really close to the body, you'll feel like a magnetized kind of pull towards the body, and things can get distorted too. So if things can be that distorted while you're in the body, then don't you think they could be even more distorted as you go along? That would be like me having a crazy acid trip. And I'm sure some of you've had some of those. I have. And then coming back and telling you that everything that we experienced in the acid trip is what reality is. And we start mapping it out and drawing it out. And, you know, this entity and that God and this thing over here, it melts when you go that way. And here, let me draw you a map. But what we can do is we can take parallels from everyone's experience and then give it a name. And I think that's kind of what Monroe did on the conscious, like when he said like focus 10, 11, 12, instead of like saying that's God or this is Shambhala or these are angels or whatever. I think it was smart of him to say, well, these are the type of experiences people have when they reach this level of focus or whatever, and they're still in their bodies, you know. So anyways, I'm rambling. All right, when we get back, I'll open the phone lines up. We'll go back through these pictures. If you got something to say about these pictures, if you've experienced anything that's in these pictures, if you've seen them before, you understand anything from them, help us investigate this black library that Chris stumbled upon. I'm having fun with it. Also can't wait to get into the JFK files too. That'd be fun. I have to dig through that probably this weekend, though. Don't know. Be right back. Maybe 3 minutes, 4 minutes.
Nice haircut, Joe.
What?
Benoit. And when I need my fix on the world of magic and the capabilities of the human consciousness, I listen to Joe Roop right here on Lighting the Void Radio.
Have you ever wondered, what do the stars say for me? Or, will the next month or the next year be more favorable? How about, are our two signs compatible? Each month, at the new moon, you can ask these questions live with me, your astrologer psychic, Mary DeCina, along with host of Lighting the Void, Joe Roop. Join us at the new moon for Cosmic Conditions. We look forward to working with your energy.
Every new moon at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on Fringe FM.
My name is Jake. I'm from Billings, Montana, and I am a Void Walker.
Hey, Joe Roop. Thanks for lighting the void. This is Janine in the bluegrass of Kentucky, and I am a Void Walker.
What's up, guys? This is Damien from San Marcos, Texas, and I'm a Void Walker. I listen to the show to keep myself aligned with the world.
Hi, this is Laura, aka Laura Lavender. I'm from Las Vegas, and I listen to Lighting the Void because it helps me understand some of the strangest experiences I've had. So thanks for all that you do and for always being there for us, Joe.
You are listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop.
Justify an existence that is without meaning or purpose, and all of them as artificial as the Matrix itself. Although only a human mind can invent something as insipid as love. You must be able to see it, Mr. Anderson. You must know it by now. You can't win. It's pointless to keep fighting. Why, Mr. Anderson? Why? Why do you persist?
I choose to.
Studios, all the way from the Deep South. Now, here is your host, Joe Roop.
Well, welcome back to Lighting the Void. So, the attic discovery and the strange history that's tied into this place. This story that Chris shared with us, his spontaneous mountaintop adventure, all the stuff that led him to this place. I find it very interesting. I guess what I'm trying to figure out is maybe the couple that decided to take their own life in this place that we talked about, maybe they chose to. Which is a whole other philosophic discussion. Like, who are we to say they shouldn't have done it or should do it? But what it does say is what it does, I guess you could say, allude to is the power of our consciousness and the power of our minds. We don't know the power of our minds. For people to decide they want to take their own life and love, who are we to say they shouldn't do it? But it does kind of tell us, like, how powerful consciousness and these things can be. So when Chris discovered these books, we now figured out have been called the Black Library, according to these people, somewhere around the 60s, the late 60s, when he found this. And I relate it to a lot of what's going on today, because now we're in the information age and everybody's sharing what they believe is the truth about everything. And if you've doom scrolled for 2 hours, you know that that's true now. There's not masses of congregations fighting against certain beliefs anymore. Everybody's beliefs are coming at you like 90-0. So the only way that we can really discover the truth is explore this for ourselves. And even then, we have to take into consideration that we're still filtering lots of things through our own human existence, so we can relate our experiences to each other and maybe find some parallels, right? And the only things that I know that keep us connected that are true are those 3 things from the sun that Chris talked about. It's funny, your name is Chris, so that kind of goes with the Christos, right? Or fire. But is light, life, and love, which I don't even see kids riding bikes up and down the road anymore. Do you see that in your neighborhood? Because I don't see the connection that people that people had when I was a kid. This is how we connect now.
There.
You know,
it's still out there. It's not as much as you see. I mean, you hear mostly kids are on their phones, but I do still see kids riding their bikes in the neighborhoods. There's still hills riding those 20-inch freestyle bikes is really popular. You know, I still see good things out there, brother.
How do we go from that to when we get older? That is it because that like life just sucks so bad that we got to get out of here or something? You know, like when I was a kid, man, we had a little bike crew down here at my grandpa's shop. We would even put different tires on different bikes, and then, you know, we had our own little gang we'd ride up and down the street with. We put, you know how you run over the can, so when you ride it, it sounds like a motorcycle and stuff like that. Like we were connecting on a living level, which I feel like, even though you say that, yeah, it's still there, but I feel it like it's slipping away, man. We got to fight for that back. We got to fight, in my opinion, to get life back, to connect again. I really do think we're going to end up, if there is a spiritual war, that's what it is right now. Not God and the devil, angels and demons. You can look at it that way, but it's more about, are we like loving each other enough? If I keep going, it's going to get real sappy. Anyways, so Chris recounts entering the attic. Was it musty when you went up there, the stairs? Was it like really, did you get that like really old feeling?
Okay, you keep saying an attic, brother, but it's not an attic. There was an attic in the house.
I'm
and
confused.
Some weird shit. That's okay. So all this stuff came from a back room in a chapel. So yes. So imagine you walk into this tiny little chapel. There's like 4 or 5 pews on the left, 4 or 5 pews on the right. There's a pulpit on the left in the front. There's a fireplace in the center in the back. And on the right in the back, there's a door that has a lock, and nobody goes in that door. But inside that door, that's where all this nastiness was. That's where there were shelves, and that's where all these books were. And
but didn't you say there was something about an attic, like a smell or something?
Yeah. So when it comes to the attic, the former caretaker, her husband went up into the attic to spray for bugs.
That's what my brain was doing.
So he met his own demise up there because he came down coughing, very sick, and within 30 days, he passed away. So I had hired a exterminator as well as a duct cleaner to help me discover the source of a terrible smell of death that was always near the front door, right by this return vent that went to the furnace. So I thought there was a dead rat in there. I thought something was going on. So I hired a couple people, and one of the guys went into the attic, and when he came down, he was at unease. He was unsettled, and he said, "Did you follow me up into the attic?" I said, "No, why?" He said, "I swear you were up there with me, and I was talking to you, and then I turned around and you weren't there anymore." And I didn't make much of it, but I'm sure he experienced something up there. So there was some weirdness to the attic for sure. But the books, I did find a stash of books, maybe 3-4 books in the attic, but 99% of the books were in the back room of this chapel.
Okay. See, if my ADD brain can get, we've talked about this a million times and I'm still getting stuff confused about the story. Okay, well, now imagine me going out and exploring consciousness and coming back and telling you ultimate reality. See what I mean? I can't even get the story straight. So it is funny, dude, but it's not funny because it's serious. Okay. Even though it could be funny, like I don't want to laugh at people dying, but I mean, it was back in the 60s or whatever.
No, it's taken me. I should just write you. I'll send you a copy of the story so you can read it a few times and get familiar with it.
I have to do that, man. I have to go over stuff like a million times before it sinks in for some reason. I don't have great recall, but either way, like there's a lot of dark, in my opinion, there's a lot of dark stuff that happened. Okay. You experience the smell of death. You found this stuff buried in this tomb. They're calling this thing the Black Library. You've got a couple that killed themselves, and yet when we open up the books and we look at these books, these are relaying some of the same messages that I've come to understand in spiritual teachings. But if these spiritual teachings, if these spiritual teachings are leading us to believe that there's something great and wonderful out there that's so much better than life. And I'm not saying there's not, but if it gets to that point where that's where we're so obsessed where we forget about life and like the beauties of this place, then I feel like intuitively that whatever consciousness, the greater conscious system that Thomas Campbell is talking about, whatever that is trying to do, that we have failed it. Because if that's the case, what's the point? Might as well just destroy this damn place. And I don't think that's true at all. Anyways, Dutchie, the thing's not ringing, so I got it pulled up. So if you call back in, I'll be able to, I'll see it and I'll pick it up. All right, so let's go back to your slides, Chris. And let me see if we can get to one.
A lot of what I have been personally reading and the books that I've been digging into talk about what you find in the astral realm, and that being disembodied spirits and the array, the variety that are there. And so it is kind of scary, man, to think if potentially this was going to be some kind of Heaven's Gate or something, they were going to all off themselves. I don't think that was the case.
Probably not. We don't know. I want to know.
We don't know. I want to know too.
It concerns me, man. Like I said, I've had more than one friend that they've had these experiences, or they've gotten to these experiences, and they could have been stuck. They didn't kill themselves, but they had things that hurt their life, their family, all of these things. You know, it's like playing in a laboratory that you don't understand. So I feel like I'm not saying that astral travel is bad, that an out-of-body experience is bad, or even that a Kundalini experience is bad. What I am saying is that we should just, if we do it from the heart and we do it in love and we stay grounded, like if we look at life as like a precious thing, a divine thing, and it keeps us like we stay grounded, we should be okay. But if we're constantly trying to escape or think that there's some great pleasure center out there in the cosmos somewhere that's just going to give us all of this bliss and orgasmic everlasting eternity, I feel like that's a dark message, brother. I don't even see how that could possibly be real. But I do, like, this is the one that's got me the most, this picture of the body. Every freaking book I've read from Manly P. Hall talks about this. There's something to this one, for sure. Let me see if I can call Dutchie back. He said that he saw something like a book, or he's seen these pictures before or whatever. Let's see if we'll get him on the phone. You got any more pictures? Send them to me, dude. I'll blast them out here.
Hey,
What's up, Dutchie?
Hey.
Did you see photos like this or something before? Have you seen this before?
Yeah.
All right, Ben.
I'm
Let us have
probably
it.
having a delay here between the pictures. And
Yeah, don't look at the pictures. Just talk to us. Tell us what's up.
oh, well, first I'll say thank you, Chris, for sharing all this stuff. But
Pleasure, bro.
Hey,
You all right, Dutchie?
but yeah, I'm here. Yeah,
Okay. All right. Checking.
yeah. No, yeah. The spine picture looks a lot like Kundalini and chakras, which I just think is a grosser outlining of chi. But yeah, so when Chris says that he feels it from the heart, that is very true, because that's where you take things in.
Okay. In the chat, I think you said that you said, I have seen very similar things as some of these in old books. So you've seen some of this, like what's being shown in books is what you're saying.
Yeah, not specifically the spine one, but the pyramid one where it labeled the levels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This one does kind of look a bit. This one picture of the spinal cord and everything does look kind of legit, though, but based on like what Manly P. Hall's taught, because you got the different levels of energy as they go up the spine, and then you have where they correspond kind of in the brain too, what glands and all of that, as it's like working together.
Right. That's they call that the snake of fire, with the Kundalini exploding through your body.
Man. So what do you think, Dutchie? Do you think this is something we should all just try to do?
Not the Kundalini. No, not the Kundalini one. Because that's where I think, I know, it's a big sigh.
I agree with Dutchie. I agree with you, brother. It's not for the weak, man. I wound up in a crazy house. Your friend Joe wound up in a crazy house.
Yeah, he did.
Kundalini's no joke, man. It's not a fun thing. It's just explore, tread lightly. It's fun to read about this stuff. But what I like about studying this stuff is if this does happen to you, it will give you a greater understanding of what you are going through. So you don't think you're going crazy. You may be able to go through the experience a little easier if you know what you're getting, if you know ahead of time what the potentials are.
Well, I'll agree with that giving you knowledge will help ease it, because then you can understand what's happening, right? Even if you can't look at a picture and think that, it's going to ease your pain as it's happening, but still at the same point, you can understand that, this is what I'm trying to do. And so now this is what's happening. If you have a spontaneous one, well, that's a whole different thing, because you didn't even know what was going to happen. Right.
Right. That's the thing that I've found that has happened to some people, or that just happens. Right. And they don't, like next thing you know, they're in literally a friend of mine, he got put in a crazy house, man. Like they locked him up. They diagnosed him with schizophrenia. They diagnosed him with bipolar disorder. He's healthy as hell now. And I plan on having him on the show so he can talk about his experience too. But he came to me actually today and said, I didn't realize that, I was having one of these experiences, like once he looked it up and realized what happened, it kind of, was a sigh of relief. He's totally off any of the medications that they gave him. He's not hallucinating and seeing stuff all the time. But when the episode happened to him, he explains it as if he felt as though he was slipping out of reality,
Right. And I've read that in other books too. whether they just be plain psychological stuff or magical things, where they were warning you, that you have to stay grounded, because if you don't, you can drift off into a place where you could lose your mind. And from the psychological point, people are like, this happened to me. And for years, they were, just like you were saying, where they were, people thought they were, had lost their mind, but they really didn't. They just had experienced something. Right?
Yeah. So this is different too. I'm not talking about just exploring the out of body. Like you're in the body when this happens. You're awake. It's not body asleep, mind awake. That type of conscious exploration. Like you're in the body, fully awake when this happens. And a lot of people say that even in religious books, like when Christ talks about the veil parting and all of that stuff, that's totally talking about parting the veil between this reality and the metaphysical realm, where you can kind of see it all and experience it all through the third eye. And
right,
that's been talked about for years.
It has. Yes. But I'll disagree on one point here, that it's not all in your body, because people go into, they used to think that when people went into epileptic shock, that they were, something metaphysical was happening to them. But that's just an example. But there is a thing where you can sit in a trance, you can be just normal, and I won't even say a trance. What I'll say is when people go into a daze, when they're just daydreaming for a while, that is a sort of trance. And so you can go into that, and you can drift outside of yourself just in that state, but people don't realize that. And so then they think that there's something psychologically going on wrong.
Right.
Okay. And so you're still in your, whatever you want to say, your regular state of mind, but you just drifted off for a minute. Well, there's nothing wrong, right? Or in your sleep, like we've talked, lucid dreaming and all that. You've talked about that many times. Or, it just goes on there's a very fine line. And once you cross that line, but if you then you cross that line, then somebody thinks that you've drifted too far, or you yourself think that something is wrong.
Yeah. Right.
And that's the whole thing, I gotta say something about the cult thing, right?
Sure.
Okay. So Jim Jones, that's a very interesting story, and people should look that up if they've never read about Jim Jones before. But yeah, actually what he did, he started a thing where he would feed the homeless, and he had a church in San Francisco, and he this is a classic cult example, and this is just how I'll give the whole arc of what a cult is, because he started where he helped a whole bunch of people, and he actually got the government in on his side to feed the homeless and do a bunch of stuff. And then at one point he decided that the government was against him, and so he took everyone to Guyana, and then things went horribly wrong. But this is a classic example of a cult, how they lure people in thinking everything, they're going to help them, and everyone thinks that they're great, even politicians or the local people, and then things just go horribly wrong. And this is kind of
you think that's what happened with that couple? Maybe,
you never could. That's why I said you never know somebody's psychological makeup, right? So if there was a group of people, or even if it was just those two, it could be totally disconnected from the metaphysical, right? It could have been, because you have to kind of look like, why would they be there out their own? You know, it.
Why would they get married? Didn't they get married, Chris?
No. They didn't get married. So in the article, it states that they were 24 years old from Gardena, California. They had a daughter that was 3 years old. They put her on a plane. You know how you chaperone a plane to kids? Yeah. They chaperone the kid to, I kept saying Kansas City, but it's not Kansas City. It's St. Louis. They sent their kid to St. Louis. So that daughter may be older than us. She may still be alive and not know what happened to her parents, because who would tell? That lady probably doesn't know what happened to her parents. But all it said was that they came to that spot. They had a last meal at a steakhouse down the road. They had this canteen with them the whole time. They were dressed in all black, and they went to that chapel and they offed themselves. But their bodies were found naked, and there's a stack of Mad magazines at the pistol, with the pistol, and apparently they were searching for a rattlesnake poison. So I'm assuming,
yeah, something's off there.
Yeah, man, I'm not sure that couple had anything to do with the spiritual group. I think but it's so curious, brother, because it's like, why would they come from a whole nother state, California, to this little town to do this? I mean, they left a daughter behind.
Listen, I know this isn't like the JFK files or anything, which we'll get into that too, but what happened to you, that the feelings that you felt when you were there? You know how you see those movies where people experience stuff from the other side, kind of like in the movies, and it's almost like that spirit's trying to tell a story. Do you ever get that feeling like they're trying to get their message to you in some sense of the word? Like,
yes, I told you this probably the second time we talked a few weeks ago. I said, really, the motivation now, or what I have come to realize, is that couple, their story had been buried, because that place today exists only because they can rent out this chapel for weddings and for memorial services. So that's where you're getting this whole wedding thing. So that chapel keeps the business, keeps the properties.
So in my mind, I keep thinking they're getting married. That's why I keep saying that.
Yeah. So basically, what Amy told me, the former caretaker, she said that her husband told her never to tell anybody about this tragic event, because then no one would want to get married and stand right where a couple off themselves. And so this story had been buried and purposely buried so that the place could profit. And I feel obligated to share their story. And that's
so. All right, now we're in a new territory here, because I thought that when you said, hey man, like I get this medium stuff that's happening to me, I just thought that it was a thing to where like you, well, maybe it is like a thing where you just experience what people felt when they crossed over. But now what you're saying is it's not just about feeling that. Maybe they're trying to tell you to tell their story. Maybe.
In this particular case, I have no other explanation. Why would they show me? Okay. Yes, I've gone down this. This wrecked my life, guys. So it's like, I was trying to think, what if those cops weren't trained well for welfare?
They would have shot
they'd
you.
have offed me. What if I would have been gone? Then none of this would have even happened. I would have never met you. I would have never been on this mission here in California. I wouldn't even have the revelation that that this is a gift that I have, this whole mediumship crap.
So now we got to get down to the bottom of it.
I went crazy for sure, right? So it's like, okay, I got to tell this story. I want to, not to profit, but because if you died and nobody knew how you died, and they just buried this story, and you were trapped in the astral realms, you'd probably try to tell somebody too. I mean, that really could explain what all the ghost stories are about. I mean, this thing really happened to me, man, and I'm.
No, I believe you, brother. I believe you.
Well, yeah, you want to tell it from your soul. I mean, this happened to you. right? And you felt this you felt this inside you. And this is a very good thing that you're saying all this stuff. That's what I think.
You experienced the poison.
It's very
It put
good.
you in the hospital.
I dropped to my knees, guys. I dropped to my knees. It felt like, yeah, for sure. I experienced that. And then the very next day, I'm trying to off myself at the kitchen table and by taking an officer's gun. I told that officer I was going to take it. Who the hell does that?
Can I ask you a question? Have you thought about, hold on a second. Have you thought about and I'm not assuming here. You've corrected me 4 times tonight, which is great. That means I'm getting somewhere at least. All right. You thought about asking them, like, what is it that you want me to say? What is it that do you want me to figure this out for you? Like, are you just trying to tell your story? What do you need me to do? Did you ever do that? Did you ever just ask him that?
Okay, so this whole thing was so traumatic to me that when I went back and started communicating with them, I told them, you don't have to stay here anymore. I said, I know your story. I'm going to tell it. You can go on. You don't have to stay here anymore and bother people. You can leave now. And so I keep going back, and I don't feel their presence anymore. They don't bother me. I can go back, and they don't screw with me anymore. It's not like I can go back there and it keeps happening to me. So I believe they've left.
Okay.
I believe I helped them leave, and that's what this is all about. I'm going to tell their story. You've helped me to tell their story.
Well, I just know how this has affected you personally, and I want you to. Maybe I'm being selfish, but I feel like I probably am being selfish. I don't want you to re-traumatize yourself through any of this, man. Like, I want to figure this stuff out. I get obsessive about it. Like, why did they do it? And what does your intuition tell you? What does not my guess, not Dutchie's, not the audience, what does your gut tell you why they did what they did?
What I would have to do is go sit in the space, and maybe I'll get an answer.
You don't know right now, right? Like, you just know what happened, which is good enough. I think it's good enough. That's good enough to know, because nobody would have known. You're right. Nobody would have known any of this. That's a really good point.
That's why I like to say their names. Go ahead.
Yeah. I have a feeling there's 2 different things here. That somehow, with all that metaphysical stuff there, that there was negative energies there that are attached to you. And that with these people, that was a separate thing. Somehow I feel that.
I agree, Dutchie. I really appreciate that contribution, and I agree 100% because there's a lot of activity going on at that place. I'll remind everybody that the former caretaker, or not former caretaker, the board member who was interviewing me, the one who'd been there the longest, she said that Stephen Hawking came out there in the 60s and said this place had wormholes. And the old man who used to work out there as a ranch hand told me that he used to hear beating drums up in the hills, and he used to hear the sound of wagon wheels rolling through rocks. None of the stuff that you could actually see, like ghost sounds. So I believe, and then they do memorials, so people's ashes are dumped there. This place is probably flooded with things in the astral realm, and I think the things with the most energy realize that I was a void walker. You know, the void is lit. Once they see your light, they come and okay,
yeah,
let me bug this guy.
Right. Even when you have your first like out of body experience, or you start doing like daily ceremony, like say you're doing the middle pillar every day, or you're doing the LBRP, or just the middle pillar like every day, you'll start getting weird stuff, because it's almost like you're lighting stuff up. It's weird. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true, man. That might be why you saw that thing in the woods that freaked you out too, right? You know,
it's a desert. Yeah, it's a desert.
And then desert. I see my mind's making its own picture, you know. Did the owner seem uneasy after? Do you feel like the owner's still holding stuff back? Because I mean, we know a spiritual group, they told you once used this place, but that's pretty vague, right? Did they seem uneasy when they were telling you this stuff, like they were holding back even more info?
Well, the lady, the president, the last question she asked me was, "Are you afraid of the dark, Chris?" And I ended up being the most scared I've ever been in my entire life in the dark out there. I was brought to tears. I've never been that scared in my life. And the lady asked me in the interview, "Are you afraid of the dark?" And
Well, then I think that place opened. Well, no, because your story, I was going to say that place opened something up in you, but no, it didn't. You had been open before you went to that place.
I think he was, yeah.
Right. Yeah, it was the meditation and the condition of my body, I believe, and the practice that I was putting into place. There was a formula to it, because then I started to hear this voice, not audibly, just in my mind. There was implanted this earworm that in the form of a riddle, upon which when I solved it, the location that it sent me to was this place I had never been to, at which the entire riddle just materialized, and I became the caretaker at this place and found myself in contact with all these different disembodied entities.
I gotta go, man. I gotta go out there now. I have to go.
Go. Let's go. Let's book it. We can literally book it, reserve a cottage, and stay on the property overnight, 2 nights. We can make an event out of it. We should get whatever void walkers are down to come and have a real life experience. We'll make an event out of it. We'll go
should be a
stay
small
there.
group. We should just take a small group out there. But listen, we'll do it. We're gonna do it. We'll do it. All right. But I got to tell you, man. When I went to the crystal mine in Arkansas, they got floating rocks out there. All right. I even put my compass over this vortex thing. I didn't believe in vortexes. I thought it was bullshit. All right. And when I took my compass out there, it was spinning back and forth. I felt weird. They had even rocks that were levitating out there. Somehow or another, they decided to throw in Bigfoot and all this other stuff. Okay. Whatever. Yeah, that was bullshit. When I went to Arizona, Sedona, I had a heartfelt experience out there. I wouldn't call it a super mystical experience, but I did have a heartfelt experience. I went to Shasta. Nothing. You know, I didn't experience anything out there, but I think we went the wrong time. This time, dude, I think we need to really figure out when's the best time to go out there. Just between me and you, and then find 3 or 4 other people that want to go with us. You know what I mean?
Right.
And try to get to the truth of it. If you think 2 or 3 nights will do it, I'll do it. I'll figure a way to go. But I've been exploring this stuff for years, man. And yeah, I got to go out there now, right? Because there's too many unanswered questions for me personally, and I am being a little selfish here. The books that you found and these diagrams that we're showing could possibly have nothing to do with what happened to that couple. Nothing. But at the same time, like, there could be a connection there. You know, there could be something that we're missing. Like, I feel personally like there's something small that we're missing from all this. I don't know what the hell it is, though.
I think it's more interesting on where did they get those drawings from and who was teaching them and all that kind of stuff. And how did they, and why did these people split off from the group where there was only 2 of them there? And where did the rest of the people go? Because
No shit. Yeah, that's a good question.
It begs the question, who taught him this stuff? Right? Somebody had to tell him all about these things, you know, because what the drawings that Chris was showing there, that's some pretty intricate esoteric stuff.
Yeah.
There had to be a leader,
so
right? There had to be a leader leading this class, right?
Yeah, I would think there had to be somebody, one person.
Well, yeah, there has. Well, you know, you can say leader, but you could also say somebody that knows to teach the rest of the group.
Especially in the 60s, right? Like in the late 60s.
Well,
that had to have been like a group leader.
Yeah, in the late 60s, this was the problem in the late 60s. That's what the cult thing, it was very bad and bad in a way that a lot of people drifted into it. So yeah, it's just more interesting where, like, who showed them these things, if they were even experiencing these things or not, is a question. But who showed them, like what Chris said, that, or you guys talked about, like where a woman would have been drawing some and a man would have been drawing other things. So there was a whole group of them. Well, where are the rest of them?
Yeah, whose name is on that book? And where are the rest of these people? When you look at all the books, just to be honest with you guys, Chris and I talk about this stuff. I know it seems confusing throughout the shows. That's partly my fault, okay? Probably all my fault. But Chris and I talk a lot off air about this stuff. And there's something drawing me to this story for some reason. And it's not for clicks. It's not for fanaticism. It's not any of that stuff. I feel like whatever happened here at this place that he's talking about is something that we all need to figure out in a way, because the next level where we take conscious exploration into the future where we are now, it's, for some reason, I feel like it's going to matter, because we're bombarded with look at all the stuff these people drew, just a small group of people. So if you're a truth seeker now, and you get on the internet and you have no bias, no preconceived notions, you're just a truth seeker, that's it. That's all you care about. You're in a even crazier place now, it seems like. It doesn't seem like it's even remotely close to where back then, at least, they thought they knew the truth. But also, there were more people offing themselves back then. We're not just talking about these two people, the Jonestown, all that stuff. So I feel like, I don't know, dude. I just feel like I have to go out here. Like I want to, there's something I have to solve about this thing, man. And if you think that it's going to like re-traumatize some stuff in you, Chris, then we won't do it. Right. Cause you said like,
so check this out. So AR made a point in the chat. He said he is open. So the energy was able to enter his psyche because he wasn't prepared. So that's the point. See, when this all happened to me, I was not prepared. So it shocked the hell out of me. So apparently I have this ability. So, and as I'm moving through houses in my career, I have a ritual now daily to put a protection around me before I walk into any house. So as we do this venture, we will have a protection around us. Everyone should have their own way of doing it, but
I have mine. I have them on audios for people to download, but I realized later that, like, that's why I'm saying this. Not everybody protects themselves the way I do it. You know, everybody does it their own way. Yeah,
we'll have a group protection, and we'll make sure that when we do this, that we do it safely and effectively. And another big question, like AR said in the chat, how did this couple from California even know about this place? How had they been there before? Because this is a small place in the middle of, it's not even in the city. Yeah. It's outside of the city. So it's so hidden and so it's off a dirt road. Literally, this is a secluded place that most of the public, even in the city nearby, currently doesn't know about. Is purposefully not advertised to maintain the peacefulness of the place. It's set aside to be a still place in a turning world. That was the whole motto. So it's perfectly secluded. So this couple from California had they been there before? Did they come back to do this? Were they a member of that group? I'm not sure. These are all great questions.
Yeah, we'll get down to the bottom of it, man.
Well,
I'm not worried about
you
getting
know,
re-traumatized. Already.
Good. All right.
No, I mean, Chris, if you have a way to protect yourself, I think that would be, I mean, that has to be, it has to be done, because it seems like in all the stories you told that you're way open to everything that's around you. Like you said, when you go into somebody's house, you feel, but if you go into a negative space, you have to be able to close all that off so you don't just take all that in. And I'm not the one to tell that how to do that. I'm just saying that that has to be done. But as far as the 60s and stuff, I mean, I read books in the 70s about places in Yellowstone and places, weird places like in Yellowstone. I remember when I was in Yellowstone where static electricity would make weird things happen in Yellowstone. And I was like I said, I was in the 70s. So people finding these places in the 60s, I don't think it's so weird, because they might have heard about it from somebody else, from somebody else, from somebody else, and then decided that's where I'm going to go. And and probably from the Indians, you know, they probably decided they would go there because might have been a tribal burial ground or something like that. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just saying.
I do believe that there is a mound there for sure. I haven't even brought that up, but when we go explore it, there's clearly a mound. This place is surrounded by mounds. That's a whole nother rabbit hole. But
I'm going to take pictures, man. Like, we got to take pictures of everything. Next question, though.
Mini documentary.
Yeah, we got to do some kind of documentary or something. But look, this lady. This is what I'm concerned about. Is this lady Amy, the property owner, who she trusts you with this, trusted you with this place. We've exposed the story they didn't want to expose, and now we're going to go there and investigate this whole thing. Or are they not going to run us out of there?
Well, we might have to be a little low key. We're not going to tell them what our plan is. Yeah, but nobody's going to.
We're not big enough that anybody knows anything, right? But
what I'm saying is we're not going to make the front page, and if we do, well, that's okay.
Well, maybe. You could play that the other way. You could play it the other way, and, you know, ghost stories. I mean, the ghost story TV shows brought a lot of people into other places where they had never been before.
We could do that, but I'm going to tell you guys straight up, and whoever's interested in this, that if I go to the place, I'm not going to, there will be no entertainment factors. I'm not going to try to get clicks. I'm not going to try to fanaticize you. I'm only there to find the truth. And if there's nothing there, I'm going to say there's nothing there for me, at least in my experience. If there is something there, I'm going to let you know. Like, I don't give a damn about anything but the truth of this. And I trust Chris because he's a friend of mine. I only keep people really close to me that I know they're straight up with me. And I've tested them selfishly in my own way to make sure that they're straight up with me. Chris is a legit dude. He had a real experience. This matters to me more than anything. I'd like to push all of the bullshit out and find out the truth. I don't care how many clicks it gets. It's a very selfish thing, actually. But I also think that most of the people that listen to the show are the same way. I think most of us are. The truth is what matters. And brother, I can't imagine, like, I've never been poisoned before. I can't imagine what that must have felt like in your body. I remember you explaining it. That you felt it in every, your intestines, your groin, like it. That must have been scary, man. That must have been really scary.
Right, and yeah, it was painful, scary, embarrassing. Embarrassing because I couldn't contain myself. I could not sit still. I was going through so much pain. I was like a fish out of water in the emergency room. They couldn't even leave me in the lobby. They just had to bring me back and sedate me, and ended up telling me nothing was wrong with me. I was probably dehydrated. And they gave me a paperwork explaining dehydration. I still have the paperwork to this day. Just I've reviewed it last time we were chatting. And so if we go there, I would say, you know, 4 is a good number to take. You, me, 4 more. 6 is a good number to go take. And it has to be people that are really interested in wanting to go. And it's not about entertainment. It's about getting answers. And I truly believe that if there's one place that I could take you to have a real experience, that's the place, because of the amount of traffic that's there. And I have heard from multiple people now, like I said, along the way, the old man who used to work there, the lady who said Stephen Hawking came out there. And and this place is going to be the place to go to have a spiritual experience. And I'll tell you what, I'm ready to go back. I'm not afraid.
All right.
So let's do it.
All right. We'll figure this out. I'm hoping, I still have the guy that said they got shot 8 times and had 4 NDE experiences. I ran into him again. He's about, like I said, I think he's nervous. I think I'm going to have to just like go up into his yard and put a phone in his face and record what he says. Because this guy's not like, I don't think he likes to talk about these things, but you know, he got shot 8 times. He had 4 separate out-of-body experiences while he was shot. And he's about to, some guy tried to bully him, okay? So I'm just telling you guys, this show is coming. Some guys tried to bully him, rob him. He wouldn't go for it, which I'm proud of him for, because bullies are the biggest pieces of shit on the earth. Any kind of bully. Doesn't matter, man, woman, any. The guy shot him 8 times. I think he shot him that many times because Mark fought back. And so he's about to go through the court date. So he's about to have to relive this whole thing. And so what he told me the other day was, now's the time that I really want to tell my story. So I think he was nervous before. So I'm trying to get that too. We'll keep following up with Chris. I'd like to have Chris keep coming back anytime we get some. The reason why we're talking about it again tonight is because I didn't know when he started sending me pictures of this stuff. I had no idea that someone called it the Black Library. I'd never seen these photos. Okay, so as stuff gets unveiled about the story, we'll stay on top of it too. One last question though, Chris, about the books, and then we'll roll out. And thanks, Dutchie, for calling in, brother. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man.
Always, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
The books, are they all around the same subject by the same teachers, or is it kind of scattered when it comes to the teachings? What I mean is, are they all theosophical? Are they all Rosicrucian? Are they Eastern? Or is it just like a myriad of different occult books and texts and things like that?
It's a myriad, because all 3 of what you just mentioned and much more.
Okay. So then that tells me they were exploring in a sense too. Maybe it wasn't someone teaching a certain thing. Maybe they were exploring things.
Okay, I've got, before we roll out, and then this is good news, because like you said, we'll touch base and we'll follow up. So the good news is I reconnected with Amy. She lives in my old hometown that I go to, you know, regularly. So she said, hey, next time you're in town, Chris, we got to meet up. So I'm going to ask her some more questions. I'll probably see her again. And I forgot to mention, which we can dig into later because we're closing out, but she said that what she was sad about her husband passing away, one of the things that she wanted to continue doing out there was the Lazarus stuff. She continued talking, but wasn't Lazarus somebody that came back from the dead in the Bible?
Yeah. Yeah. Lazarus Jesus rose Lazarus from the dead. Yeah.
So she said, we wanted to continue the Lazarus stuff. So I don't know what that meant, but I'll get an opportunity to ask her about it. we'll chat about it again.
Sweet. Sounds awesome. Glad that everyone came out tonight. Thank you guys for your support, your continued support here and this void walking thing. We're just trying to shine our light into the void so that we can figure out the truth of things that obviously we have no certain truth for. And love, light, and life, as woo as that sounds, that's really what it's all about. It really is. And I love each and every one of you. And Chris, brother, thank you, man. I know this is like a vulnerable thing for you. 1111, make a wish. But I
appreciate the safe space.
Yeah, man. The more you come on, I want everyone, any story, if you have a story like this, if it's legit, even if you had an experience and you're really not sure what happened, as long as it's really true, hit me up. Like, well, you know, I'd love to talk to you about it. All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. We'll be back on same time, same channel, all that stuff. Until then, stay safe in the void. Sweet dreams. Good night. I love you.
Thanks, everybody.
Blast off! Here in Mission Control, the flight operations.
Hey, are you serious?
That he felt like one of the saddest features of our modern world is being a product of rather materialistic civilization.
Emergency! Emergency! A major catastrophe has occurred.
Was this the future you had in mind for us?
They must be
Smoky space.
dust. They must
be smoky space.
Dust.